Hi, welcome to Ketobiography. I'm your host, Robin Dobbins. My guest today is the husband of Christy Kriese, who joined me on episode 51, Carnivore for Mental Health, Depression, Anxiety, and the Whole Family. I'm excited to hear I'm excited to hear what it was like to be by her side through her illness and recovery, and about his own journey now that he's adopted the carnivore lifestyle too. Please welcome Drew Creasy to Keto Biography. Hello and welcome. I'm so glad we finally get to meet.
Yes, thank you, Robin, very much. I'm excited as well and super glad to meet you.
I introduce you as husband of, as if you don't have your own life, but the truth is, I know Christy pretty well, and I
Yeah,
only know you because of her. So,
yeah,
I'm sure she's been I have a feeling she's talked your ear off about me over the past couple of years since we've known each other. So it's like we know each other, but this is our first meeting, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I gave you a little heads up in the beginning. This is my favorite part. I like to just sit here and listen to my guests share their story in their own words. I really try hard not to interrupt unless I get super pumped about something. I can't control my mouth.
sure.
Um, but obviously, I want to hear, as you are aware, this is personal to me as well. I want to hear your side of that story of what it was like being with Christy while she was going through all the struggles she went through. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say this and get it out right now. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for not giving up on Christy. And I know that that started from the beginning of your relationship when she was kicked out of the home that she was in and had nowhere to go. So it's you haven't I'm sure your relationship isn't based on that being a rescue, but at the same time you've always been there for her. Thank you for everything you've done for her. And I'm just, what she's told me, I'm so excited to hear what's going on with you as well. And anything and everything that you want to share, I'm here for it. Take it away.
yeah. Thank you, Robin. It's been a great journey for me and Christy over the last 30 plus years. My high school sweetheart. I always tell everybody, the greatest thing, and I truly, but besides the good Lord, she's been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. She didn't give up on me either when I was young and dumb and all of that. And so, I'll give you a little bit of twofold. I'll give you the story about Christy, and then when I thought she was a little crazy for going carnivore, of how I transferred over to it. And so, the depression and the anxiety was something. I mean, we were so young. Neither of us really knew what it was or what was happening. And, we were 18, 19, having a kid ourselves. And this would happen every 4 5 6 years depending the timing, and we didn't know. And we never did medicine, but noticed we needed to do something for Christy. And there were times it got bad, but again, we were so young. I don't know if we really knew how to handle it, what to do, but we knew something wasn't right. And I'll tell you, probably 3 or 4 years ago, when the what I call the big one happened, it really bothered me. I had just gotten promoted in my job. I was traveling nonstop, and I felt one horrible as a husband because I was traveling, and my wife has never cried. She's not a crier. She's not an emotional person. She grew up in foster care. She's the strongest lady I've ever met, and when she would cry, it would tear me apart, right? I mean, it would, because I am a fixer. I want to fix things. I want to help her. I want to make sure. We just went through these up and downs, and of her, not moods, but just depression. And I mean, I remember laying in bed. Christy, over 30 plus years, has never taken a nap. I've never ever seen her take a nap. I've never seen her drink a sip of alcohol. She was sleeping nonstop. And while that's sometimes good, I'm sure, for depression, that's what really worried me. And then she would wake up crying, night terrors, night sweats. And, I didn't really know what to do, besides, say, how can I help? What resources do we have? And I don't mean resources just in money. I mean resources. We have phenomenal insurance through my work. What do we need to do? What counselors do we need to talk to? What help do we need? And I'll never forget it. As one of the greatest moments in our life was us getting promoted in my job, because it changed everything. But it was also one of the worst moments because of my wife and how she was. And for her to be in a bed and cry and not know what's happening was really hard. And our kids, at that time we had three of the boys still living with us. And I don't want to say they obviously knew, but we were also not hiding it, because I wanted them to know that, as strong as their mom is, this is a struggle right now. And I wanted them to see that, but I also wanted them to see that their mom is a fighter, and that their mom is, fighting through these things, that, I don't pretend to understand it. And, it was just a bad time, and we tried everything. I know she has shared before. I was like, hey, at all cost, it doesn't matter. And so we got a hold, of I don't know if it's a therapist or what it is. She said it in hers. And it was expensive. It was like 650, $700 an hour. And I was like, it doesn't matter, right? This isn't about money. It's about what you need for help. And we thought this was somebody that could help us. And I'm sure he's a great doctor and he had raving reviews, but it didn't help Christy. It actually made her worse. And I'll never forget the time. She never had suicidal thoughts, but I'll never forget the time when she told me, on the medicine that she was on from this doctor and everything. She's like, I'm worried that you're going to have to check me into a home. And Christy's never said stuff like that. She's always been strong. She's always said, we'll get through this. And I was worried. I didn't know what to do. There's not a book or anybody that can help you with things like that. And so, we did some other things, and, somehow she tracked down this carnivore, and I was like, babe, like, I love you to death. I don't know if this is the right, like, you know what I mean? Let's try it and see. You're eating a stick of butter. It's kind of odd to me, that you're just grabbing a stick of butter and meat. And I want to tell you what, and she got some things balanced in there with some other medicine that, worked as well. But the carnivore, over the last 900 plus days, it changed her life, and it changed her the anxiety and the things that she had going on, mixed with some other things that we finally got, correct. She was on Zoloft for 20 plus years, and that wears off and things like that. And so we got some other things done, but the carnivore, it changed like that. It seemed to be like that, and started to get some more. I mean, Robin, she didn't eat for I don't know how long. She was throwing up every day, and I was like, babe, what could you possibly be throwing up? You haven't ate. That was worrisome. And, she was just laying in bed, and that was worrisome. And, and I know a lot of people say this, but when you see your best friend struggling and you can't help her as a husband, that sucks. Right. And so, I was like, okay, if it's carnivore, so be it. Right. If it's getting you balanced on your Zoloft, so be it. But we're going to do whatever we can as a family to help you. And so that kind of transitioned into the carnivore, and we started to see more and more things, get better. I still thought it was odd, literally eating a stick of butter, and then meat. And I was like, well, shoot, I love meat. And then that, kind of changed into my story of like, hey, I'm traveling all the time now. And when you travel, you have bad habits. You're in airports and you pick up Snickers bars and you do, and I was like, well, this is important to me. I've always had a workout lifestyle, but this is important to me. So I'm going to challenge myself to go on carnivore, because it will challenge me while traveling. It will give me something where I'm not grabbing things in airports. And so, it kind of transitioned me, into the carnivore lifestyle, and it just, things changed. I had more energy and things like that. But I think the main thing that I will say, Robin, is while that was crazy to me, and while that was like, I still, during that time was like, I don't really know if it's carnivore. Was it the medicine? I can tell you, it was carnivore that helped tremendously with it. It just was, right? The medicine helped balance things out that I'm not smart enough to know, what all of that is. But, I can say seeing her, fight through this taught my kids and myself a ton of things, because I don't know what it's like to have anxiety. I don't know what it's like to have depression. But what I will tell you is I think it taught us all a lesson that it's easy to give up on something like that, right? Whether it be the family, the husband, or the person going through it, because it's pure hell, right? I mean, I've been with my wife for 32 years. I've never, ever seen her like this, ever. Yeah, she's had ups and downs before, but this was a time that I've never seen anything like it. And it scared me. It bothered me because I couldn't immediately fix it. And what I will say is during that time, I also later down the road used it as a lesson to my kids to say, me and me and your mom fought our entire life. We grew up poor. We didn't have money when we had a kid at 18 years old. And, then I started to get promoted more and more, and we had a little bit more. But what I wanted to share with my kids is it didn't matter how much money we had now or when we were broke as can be. Your mom was still in a bad spot, but she had a choice to make, to keep fighting or to unfortunately give up. Right. And I wanted to teach my boys a lesson afterwards of like, hey, me and your mom are in a really good spot right now. But none of that mattered during that time. None of that mattered that we had a little bit more money, now than what we did 20 years ago. What mattered is your mom fought like hell, had a faith. Like, let me tell you, Robin, like there's a lot of people that have faith in the good Lord. I do. Nobody has a faith like Christy Kriese. They just don't, right? I get emotional talking about it because she never, ever gave up. She didn't give up, right? Even on her worst days, even on days where I saw her, right? And there was one specific time, she mentions it in her podcast, where she was like, she's never asked me to stay home from work, ever. One time she's like, I just need you to stay here and hold my hand. I'll never forget that moment, right? Because it was like, okay, while I appreciated her asking me, I was also worried to death because she's never ever asked me before. And then like a couple weeks later, I just felt something where I was on a trip to Kansas City. It was an early morning flight. And something just like, Drew, you need to stay home. I don't know what it was, right? The good Lord giving me the like, you need to stay home. And I canceled my trip. Now I did lie to her. So sorry about that, Lord. And I said, "Oh, the trip was canceled, right? I canceled it because something came up, and so I did lie, but it was a good lie because I just felt something and I needed to stay with her. And so I wanted to ultimately teach my kids that even during the worst time of our life, your mom always had faith in the good Lord, and she never gave up. And so those are some of the things that, right now I look back on, and I'll never forget those days that I seen her in bed. I'll never forget them. I'll never forget those days where she got up to, go to the restroom, and I was like, okay, that's a sign. She's getting out of bed. I'll never forget the days when she had like a small little piece prior to carnivore of toast just to try to get something in her. I'll never forget the day when I come home and her Bible is wide open. She's trying, not trying, she's praying. She's looking at the word to figure out how to get through this, right? And I know I've said it, but the faith part of it was something that you can't measure. You can't put a dollar amount on faith, right? Just because we were broke and now we've got a little bit more money, nope, that doesn't matter. But when you come home as a husband and you see the Bible open in the worst time of your life, you're like, okay, right, we're going to get through this. And so that's kind of my memories of it, and I'm sure I forgot a million things, but those are the things that were important to me. And those are the things that I talk about often. I speak about it freely in my organization because of mental health, and then changing it into carnivore, and the people look at you still a little weird, like, oh really, like yeah, it helped, but other things helped with it as well. And, I speak about it often to our employees because they want to hear that I'm a human being as well and that I had to help my wife through that. And I share my wife's story because Christy has helped so many other people, right? I remember at one time in our life where we didn't have anything, and I would come home and my shoes would be gone, Robin. And I'd be like, babe, have you seen my Nikes or Reeboks or whatever? And she'd be like, oh, yeah, I gave them to so and so because they really needed them. Now, me 20 years ago, very selfish and in a different part of my life, I'm like, hey, babe, I need them as well. We don't have anything. But she had this such a big heart that somebody else needed them more than we did, right? And so that she's always had faith. It didn't matter when we were poor. It didn't matter when we, had a little extra. It didn't matter if she had depression. She's always had faith, right? She's always believed in the good Lord that, her prayers will be answered. And, between that and the carnivore, it's just been great to see.
I have to tell you a little secret that my tissue box is empty. So I'm sitting here crying and I've
Yeah.
got nothing. So if I start like doing this, wiping my nose with my arm, just understand I'm very emotional about this story because I understand it from Christy's side.
Yeah.
And it's hard to grasp how challenging it is for everyone involved. And that other piece, you yourself aren't actually going through it, but you choose to stay. You choose not to give up. And that takes a strong person as well and deserves recognition as well. And it's hard. It's hard to hear it because it's so true. But I love that you took this struggle and you turned it into a life lesson for yourselves and for the kids. Don't give up. It's so important. And more people need to hear that. Sometimes the easy way isn't the right way.
So true, right? And I'm an emotional wreck with it as well. And something that I said whenever this happened, and at that time we had been, together at that time 26 years, married 24 at that time. Yeah. And one thing I always told her, and I always wanted her to know that I will be there, and I'm here to help any way I can, no matter what. But I always told her, and I made it a hashtag. I said always and forever, and I'll never forget it. During the toughest time, I was like always and forever, no matter what. Right? If she didn't get through it, always and forever. And I say that because I can remember in our early years, right, where, she didn't give up on me for some of the dumb things I did, having a drink here or there and acting as a 20 dumb year old or 23-year-old dummy, and she never gave up on me. And it's not like, not like we had anything. It's not like she had to stay in it because, I was saving her from money and we didn't have anything. Right. I mean, and so she didn't give up on me ever. The other thing is that she's always allowed me and supported me to chase my dreams. As your husband is in this business as well, this is a tough business, right? It's the greatest blessing to be in this business. I love it, right? I've been in the industry my entire life. I've only had 2 jobs, but she has supported me from day one, no matter what I've wanted to do. And when you have a significant other like that, and your wife is moved across the world for you, and has no questions. We had 4 kids at the time, right? It'd be 4 kids in all different grades, and we've moved several times, and so she's never given up on me ever. And she could have easily been like, babe, like, we've already moved, we've already done this, babe, whatever, like, I need a support system because I need that. She never gave up on me. And so whenever I told her that always and forever, I'll never forget it because it was an emotional time. And I know she always knew that. But when you're going through that, maybe you don't know that. maybe you think it would just be easier if you gave up on me and let me go do my thing, meaning her go do her thing. And, I don't want to put that burden on you guys. And I was like, babe, this is not a burden. This is for us to help you, but also to your point, I wanted to share a story about how somebody I love more than anything. I love my kids to death, but we made a pact many years ago that our kids are going to leave us, and it's going to be me and her one day, and we're living that right now. Yeah, we still got some kids at home, but eventually, right? And so, the always and forever was something that I still tell her now. Hey, don't forget, it's always and forever. And our marriage, look, we nobody has a perfect marriage, but I'll tell you this, it's pretty darn great. And, it's because of the faith that she's always had, and she's never given up on any of us. It's because of the transfer to carnivore, that she's so disciplined. And so, I mean, she's way more disciplined than I am. And I teach discipline to my kids, my daughter, and my three sons all the time. I am a very disciplined, very routine person. But she is adamant about it because it's so crazy. You can see at times if she'll like have a sip of soda, right? And then you can just tell it the next day in her body and things like that. And so, I appreciate that. And I was emotional as well because when you see your wife struggle, you want to be able to help that, right? You want to be able to, work through those things. And so, yeah,
It's truly a testament to sticking to your vows.
yeah,
And I unfortunately that seems to be lost these days. Is
yeah,
everything okay?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
um, so before we move on to actually like the changes that you've gone through
Sure.
because you've adopted the diet, I want to ask you a couple things about just kind of being a caregiver, what that means, or watching a loved one. Like, were there any things that you leaned on in particular to support you during that time, and or are there things that you wish were available to you during that time?
Yeah, great question. I think a couple of things. One is I really wanted to lean on the faith because I saw my wife doing it. And that was influential in helping me. I mean, just being able to pray with your wife during a terrible time when she needed it, that was awesome, right? Just to be able to pray with her. And so I leaned on the faith and leaned on that. I wish I would have had resources available. I didn't know what to do. I had to call my HR business partner to ask her around like what what insurance do we have? Right? What what can I do to help my wife? And so when I look through that, Robin, I mean, yeah, you can Google stuff, but good Lord, if you Google that you hurt your thumb, it's going to tell you you're dying or something, right? And so I was careful of that, but I had to call my human resources business partner to say, like, what insurance do we have available? What do we have that can help with this? Right. And so it was just one of those things where I wish I would have had more resources. I wish I would have been able to, I don't want to say have like carbon copy of what to do, but like, where do I go? If you have insurance, here's what you do. If you don't have insurance, here's what you do. Because I can only imagine people that don't have the resources and don't have a good faith. What do they do? I really don't know, right? Like what do they do? Because if that would have been us 10 years ago, 12 years ago, during the time that she's went through it, once every 6, 7, 8 years, we didn't know what to do back then, right? I had no idea. Our faith wasn't strong 25 years ago. We were kids. We were trying to figure out life ourselves. And so to have other resources, yeah, would have been great. Yeah, leaning on the good Lord is awesome. Praying with your wife is awesome. But I'll tell you this, I just didn't know, what else to do at that time.
Yeah, that seems to be a commonality is just that feeling of helplessness and then not knowing where to turn. So
Yes.
shameless plug here is
Yeah.
that um there's an organization, I work for Metabolic Collective, and there's a
Yep.
group that has formed from there, and they're called the Friends and Family Support Group. And they are having meetings every other week. You can find it on Metabolic Collective's website, but it's
Okay.
specifically tailored to people who are the loved ones and supporters of someone who is struggling. Because a lot of
Hmm.
times you just don't even have anyone to talk to. I know
Right.
Matt says that too. Like he had someone from church that he confided in. um, I don't know how much of it was about me specifically and like what was going on with me. More so like I don't know what to do. And I think that that's something that you understand completely. Like I don't know what to do. Should I leave? Like should I get out? And then having someone with a strong faith to help you realize, no, I kind of signed on for this. I didn't know that I signed on for this at the time,
Yeah.
but I'm here for whatever happens, and it makes you stronger when you come out the other side. I'm sure you guys, I mean, I've seen you go on trips and just lay out by the pool and all that stuff. It seems like you've gotten through the other side much stronger.
Much stronger. I would say it's as terrible of a time it was. I believe 100%. As it says in the Bible, that the good Lord will never put more on you than you can handle. Now, at that time, I will tell you, Lord, like this is more than I can handle. It really is. But we came out stronger. We learned a lot of lessons. We learned that she needed to eat differently. We learned, just a lot of different things that at that time, like I said, I was like, this is too much. A new job, not a new job, but a promotion. It's supposed to be the greatest time of our life because it was a life-changing promotion, and it wasn't. And I felt terrible. My wife's like, babe, like whether you're here or not, I'm going to be in a bed crying and bawling. Like it doesn't change. So you need to go be able to do right. So think about that. The worst time in her life, she's still supported me saying, you need to go do your part. Right. Because I will be better eventually, but nothing is going to change when you're here or you're not here. She was never alone. She had the kids there. But I mean, think about that, right? Selfishly, I was like, I don't know if this is right. And she's like, again, nothing's going to change. I'm the same when you're here. She goes, do I do any different when you're here? No. Do I do any different when you're gone at that time besides lay in bed and cry and throw up? No. So then go do your thing. I will let you know. And that's whenever I knew that time that she asked me to stay. That's when I knew it was we were at a point where we had to do something because
Mhm.
she would never do that, right? But I always believed in her that she would. I always told her, I said, if you are having any other suicidal thoughts, because she never did, I need you to promise me that I'll do whatever, but I need you to promise me to let me know. And she never told me she had suicidal thoughts because she didn't. But that day she asked me to stay, I was like, okay, something's not right, and I need to be able to be with her that day. And
Yeah,
so,
something's a little off.
yeah, something's a little off.
Yeah. Uh, the the day that you secretly canceled the trip, or slash the
Yeah,
trip
yes.
mysteriously got rescheduled.
Mysteriously got
Did
rescheduled.
did I mean, was there like, I mean, that's a calling, like that's a sign. I believe in signs so much, so this resonates.
Yeah,
But did something happen? Like was that a particularly bad day? Like in
it was not a
hindsight,
great day.
yeah.
It was not a great day. It was rainy outside, right? And I think I remember I said, oh, it was canceled because of the rain, but it was not a good day for her. And I just again, I know it was a sign from the good Lord of like, Drew, you need to slow it down. Even though she's told me to go, you need to slow it down. Um, and I can remember just sitting by the bed, right? She would sleep. I would just sit by the bed. And, I mean, that's a humbling moment again, when you have a wife who never sleep. Literally, I'm not kidding you when I say taking naps. I'm not even doze off, right? I'm the king of taking a 5-minute power nap of dozing off, right? Sitting in my chair, not my kids make fun of me. My wife makes fun of me. They probably got videos and pictures, but I've never seen that. And for her to sleep like that, it was something that I was like, oh man. And so, that day, it was just a day to be able to be there and be with her, and let her know that, I ended up telling her about it later, way later. But I didn't want her to think that she was affecting my job, right? Because I didn't want to put that on her because she wasn't, but able to do that. So yeah, it was just a defining moment.
Yeah, certainly. And it's funny how that works. Like she got some sort of sign in all places on Twitter, or
I,
it's like
I
she ends
know,
up
right?
finding this out on Twitter, and that changes everything for both of you.
Yeah. And she was never a big like Twitter person. That's the other crazy part is it's not like she was another, I mean, yeah, she had social media, but she wasn't this big Twitter person, right? Or X, I guess it's called now, whatever it is. But and when she said she found some things on there, that's kind of the whole carnivore thing. Why it was kind of weird. Like, really, you found this on Twitter? Like, okay, right, sure, let's, and at that point, it was like, let's try whatever it is. If you think that's what it's going to be, and I'll be honest, I had 0% chance it was going to work, right? Of all the things that we've tried. And like I said, she was starting to balance somewhat with the changes in Zoloft or whatever else it was. But she was like that. And I was like, sounds great. Let's do it. Right. Again, 0% faith that anything was going to change because I'm like, why would it? You're telling me food now that I know more about it. And so, I would see her eat a little bit more and more. And I was like, okay, well, this may be good. She's at least eating. I don't know if it's going to fix anything else at that time, but she's at least eating and doing something, and then she would start to eat a little bit more, and a little bit more. I mean, she was sickly of how bad. I mean, there were times where I'm like, I don't know how much longer you can go without eating and drinking water. I mean, she drinks, I don't know how many gallons of water it seems like she drinks now, but she wasn't, right? And so to see her like that, I was like, okay, let's try. If you think it's carnivore, right, try it and let's see. And sure enough, here we are 900 plus days later. And and she's talked about it. It's changed our family's life as well of eating. My son-in-law, who's lost 100 plus pounds, my grandson is doing it. My youngest son is doing it. And so it's a lifestyle. And hey, people are vegan, people are vegetarian, people like it's nothing different than what other people do. And like I said, I did it to be disciplined on the road, and I was like, oh, I'll just do it just to also kind of support my wife, but it also helps me. And I was like, yeah, if I do it, I do it. But then I kind of like really got into it to be disciplined myself, and doing it. And here we are. And it's great when you eat like that. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I have what's called pizza football Sundays, right? I like when football is in. That was something me and the boys always did when they were younger, is have pizza on Sunday. And so, sometimes during the football season I have pizza, right? But it doesn't affect me like it did Christy. She can't do cheat days. I can do a cheat day. And I'm gonna do one of pizza football Sundays because that's a memory for me, and that's something. And I love pizza, right? Like, I mean, who doesn't love pizza?
Who
Like, I
doesn't?
love
Yeah.
it, right? But I'm able to do that where she wasn't at that time.
Yeah, and man, I have great respect for somebody who's able to do that because I also cannot do that. So,
Yeah,
I wish I had those opportunities to just have the one thing the one time, but it doesn't work out
I
so
know.
well for me
No,
either.
no.
But I don't begrudge you having the pizza and football.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I might be a little heartbroken, but I won't
I know.
I won't let
I
you know.
know.
So, but this is a great segue. I mean, honestly, all of that is obviously it's very
I
emotional,
know. You
and
and me both.
I'm thankful. I'm just so thankful that you guys were there for each other. Even that she just had that, just that little bit of hope. That's been a conversation I've been having a lot lately. Is just you just need a little bit of hope and it can get you through. And she was in a dark time. She was texting me quite frequently. I mean, I meet her while she's at her lowest. That's
Lois. Yeah.
when I met her, and to just be someone to vent to, like
Yes.
but she kept hope the whole time. It's the loss of hope that's detrimental to health.
Yes.
So even though she was in her lowest point and really struggling, she didn't lose hope, and she had a sense of who she wanted to be, that giving nature that she has. And she had you and her faith and her family to support while she was going through that. I to be fair, not everyone has the familial support, and she knows that because that's how she grew up. But I think everyone has someone that they could lean on, somewhere that they could go. They just might have to dig a little deeper to find it. It might not be
Yes,
within their four walls. So let's
correct.
move on to you. What my understanding is that you decided to participate in a Carnivore January.
Yep.
Just like I'm going to do 30 days and that's it. I'm just going to do it for 30 days and that's it. So what happens?
Well, I did it. And, again, it was more in support of like, hey, I'll just do it. Me and my youngest son did it, Caden. And, I was like, I'll do it. Right. Christy's doing it. It's a good month. It's helped her, whatever. Sure. To be honest. Right. I was like, yeah. And then, the first like 3 or 4 days, it was like, holy crap. I missed the other food. Right. I love bread. Truth be told, I could eat bread and pizza every day and weigh 400 pounds and probably not be happy, but I would enjoy the food. And so the first 4 days was like, this is miserable. It was the cravings. But I'll tell you, once you got into like day 10, day 12, I started to have more energy. I always worked out, I always went to the gym, checked it off the box. And day 15 comes and more energy starts to come, more, clarity. We joke in the house that I, probably have the most ADD of anybody. Never been diagnosed, but I know I have it, right? Working in this business, and I started to get more clear and I started to feel better and not so bloated, and my workouts started to get better, and just a ton more energy and things like that. And so um, I started to see a big difference in not just the physical part, but the mental part. I started to sleep a little bit better. I've never been a person to sleep very long. I'm up super early, and so I've never required a lot of sleep, just because of the business I'm in, anyways. But I started to sleep better, not longer, but more sound sleep. And after 30 days, I was like, well, shoot, if I feel like this, and I've seen the impact it's had on Caden, why would I not continue this? Like why would I stop this if I feel like this? And so that's kind of that's kind of how it started. And then I just kept going and going with traveling and everything else. It was silly to not do it any longer.
So when was that? How long have you been carnivore? Yeah, I don't think you count the days like Christy does, but
No, I
a
would
range.
say, I mean, she's, I would say 2.5 to 3 years, I would say, right? She's 900 and whatever days. So what's that, 3.5 years? So I'm a little bit behind her just because I was like, I don't really know. I would say at least 2.5 years
Of mainly a carnivore
of
lifestyle,
mainly. Yeah. Yeah.
aside
Mainly
for football Fridays or for
besides in football season. But right
season.
now
Yeah,
I don't do it because
doesn't count.
football's not. That doesn't count. Yeah, that's good carbs and good stuff. But yeah, I would say 2.5 years, maybe a little bit longer.
So have you seen any other changes in yourself since changing your diet?
Yeah, I mean, just like the clarity. For example, in my job we have meetings that we've got to go to and sit in for 8 or 9 hours. I'm not a meeting person. I want to be in my restaurants. I want to be traveling and going and helping people. I grew up in restaurants my entire life. And so meetings are not very good for me, just because of, I'm antsy. I start walking around and pacing. But the clarity in meetings for me to be able to focus a little bit more. I mean, when you're in a meeting for 8 to 9 hours and I'm used to being on my feet for 9 to 10 hours, that's a big extreme for me. And so that's helped me, tremendously. And something, and this is funny. If my kids listen to this, they'll probably turn this part off. But something that I think is cool to talk about, that and Christy says it a lot, that a lot of people don't. She says it a little bit differently to do, but our sex life was never a problem, right? It was actually really good. And I think people talking about that, they're like, oh my gosh, but that, like I said, it was always good, but that changed tremendously when we were both on carnivore, right? She says libido. She's a lot smarter than I am. And so, but that was a big change. And like I said, it was never a problem, but it was just something, and I can't explain it. I don't know why, right? I'm sure there's science behind all of that. I'm not smart enough to figure that out, but I also think that's important because I think a lot of people probably struggle with that in their marriage. We never did, but I will tell you, it's just way different. And the to be able to have all of those things and that, why would you ever stop something when it's going well, right? I mean, if your job's going great, you're not looking for another job. If things are going great in your home, you're not looking for another lady, right? You're not looking for another husband if things are going well in your home. And so I was like, why would I stop this? On top of many other factors that are happening. And so it was just a lot of things, and I'd be silly to not do it.
She said on Casey's podcast, which as of right now hasn't released, but I'm sure it's out by the time this episode comes out. But
Yeah.
she said, I don't understand why people don't lead with that, which I think is hilarious. And she's probably not wrong. Maybe we should start leading with, hey, your sex life's going to be fantastic if you and your partner both go carnivore.
It's it's so true because it's one of those things that, I get it. People aren't comfortable and things like that. But yeah, it's just, again, I think the reason people should talk about it is because if they did have a problem previous to this, it's only going to help it, right? Since we didn't have a problem, but guess what? It only helped it, and from a man and his perspective, it was just something that yeah, I can't explain it. It's great. It was good, and now it's great,
You
right?
fixed
And so
something that didn't even need
we fixed
fixing, but
something.
okay.
Yeah, right. And I'll take it. So
Yeah. So, I lost my train of thought because I said fix something that didn't need fixing.
yeah.
Now she said she made Casey blush, but you may be making me blush. I don't know. So that's it is funny. So, oh, well, what I was going to say is like you see on TV now, if you ever watch actual real TV, and the commercials are for like ED meds and testosterone and all that stuff, but the people in the commercial are like in their 20s. So it is a
Yeah,
problem. We don't know it because we didn't have
absolutely.
that, but
Absolutely.
it's a problem, and this is yet another thing that the lifestyle change can
So
help.
true.
And I mean, you're not the only person noticing it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So she has told me about your eyes, and I'm going to hesitate. I'm going to give you a little disclaimer because it's so weird. I do not like talking about eyes or teeth, but I'm going to, if I start gagging, don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
Great. Yeah.
But I hear that you have a degenerative eye disease and that you have seen
Yes, ma'am.
some differences now that you've in the 2.5 years since you've been eating this way.
It's been crazy. I used to get. It started off with my one eye. I called Christy many years ago, 3-ish years ago, maybe 4, on my way home from Minnesota driving, and she was like, "You got a migraine?" I'm like, "Babe, I've never had a migraine in my entire life with you. Like, it's not a migraine." So I get home, it's still there. Finally, she's like, we got to go to the emergency room. So something's not right with you. And so we go there, and they're like, you need to go see a specialist. So I go see the specialist, and they tell me what it is. Basically, it's something that happens in like 85-year-old men and women, right? I go into the doctor's office, and I'm not kidding you, Robin. The average age is 85 years old. They got patches, walkers, they've got people taking them there. And I'm like, what in the world? Only Drew Kriese gets something like this. So I started getting shots in my left eye. Imagine that, right? I mean, that's miserable as is. Um, Shameless plug. I thank God every day for our insurance because it covered everything, and they're very expensive. Like
Yeah.
6 months later, I go back, and now it's my right eye. Now I'm getting shots every 6 weeks in both eyes.
Oh,
Miserable,
yeah.
right? Yeah, miserable.
I can't even fathom this. Like it sounds awful.
It's wild,
Yeah.
right? And so, you talk, the only time probably I got anxiety was going to that doctor thinking about it.
You probably have to hit me in the head with something and knock me out and take me to
Oh
this
my
appointment.
gosh,
So
it was
yeah.
crazy. And so we did 6 weeks for quite some time. Then it would go to 8 weeks, and I never made it past 10 weeks. Never made it past 10 weeks without getting shots religiously. 10 weeks, 10 weeks, 10 weeks. Started carnivore. right? Didn't really see changes in the beginning. And then we made it to 12 weeks. And we didn't know why, right? I thought it was just, a change. I don't know why. And then we made it to 14 weeks. And now I think I'm at like 7 months or something crazy. And so over the years, we started talking like, what could have happened? You know, Look, right? The good Lord can cure a lot of things, and I'm sure He had help in it. But I will tell you, when I started eating, things started to get better. And there's nothing more scarier than in your vision, right? Like, not that I want to lose a couple fingers, but I've got other ones as well. Not that I want to lose a hand. You lose your vision, right? I mean, that's everything in your life. And so it was a scary time, but now I think I literally am up to like 6 or 7 months now with, going without shots. And, I know some of that was carnivore for whatever reason. I'm sure there's some crazy science behind it that I don't get, but it tremendously helped that. And I'm forever thankful for that because, that's a tough thing to get. Go there, sit in the doctor, spend, I think it's $5,000 each shot. Again, great for my insurance because I only pay a copay, but to have to go there and, it's the anticipation, thinking about it. Oh, I'm going back to this room to get freaking shots in my, yeah, they numb your eye up. It ain't numbed, right? You still feel a freaking needle coming in. You're looking at it. Right. And so anyways, it was a great thing. And I truly believe carnivore helped that as well tremendously.
Yeah, like I said, I can't even imagine. And
It's
this the
gross.
same. It's the same thing with teeth. Like the whole time I'm laying there with my mouth open, I'm like, I could end all of this by closing my mouth. And it's like
Yes.
you're watching the shot come at you. Like, why did I put myself here? This isn't
Right.
normal. I should not be sitting
Right.
here doing this.
Right.
Wow. So have you gone to the doctor for them to look at it to see if there's any, like, I don't know what causes it or whatever, but like regression in whatever was causing it? Or is it just like this extended time between shots?
It's just this extended time between shots now. And, I mean, every time I would go in, basically what happens is fluid builds up, right? And it blurs your vision and et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure there's some other terms behind that. And I never, every time I would go in, yeah, you need shots, the fluid's coming back, and it like breaks your blood vessels. And I don't even know. There's so many other things, and then it just started extending and extending. And I'm thinking, like, at one point, I asked the doctor, who's a great doctor. We talked about Chipotle all the time because he's a big Chipotle guy, and so he knew to talk to me because he knew I was nervous. And so when he started talking to me, I kind of calmed down a little bit, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then it was like, oh shoot, it's already done. But he was just like, hey, it's not, because he told me for the rest of my life I'd always have shots. Now I looked at it in two different ways. I was mad, but I was also like, okay, thank you, good Lord, that I'm able to get these shots and at least do it. I have to do this for every, at that time, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. So be it. But at least it's a cure, and I can't get surgery or anything like that. But then we started going out and out and out, and I was just like, is this like, he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And I was like, okay. And so me and Christy would talk and we'd piece things together, and, and it was like, okay, well, this helped. And so cool, freaking awesome story. Now I'm up to 6, 7 months without freaking needles in my eyes. And I continue to pray that it stays that way as
Yeah,
well,
that's
because
quite a
that's,
blessing. I'm
oh my
sure.
gosh, is it
I'm,
ever? Yes.
I'm sure. So we don't have much time left, but I do find a lot of curiosity in this, and it's because it's a question that comes up all the time with people. And this is your life. You live basically outside of home. You're traveling all the time. How do
Yeah.
you maintain carnivore? Do you have any tips, tricks, things to share with people who are traveling to help them maintain success?
Try to take stuff with you. Airport is not great, and things like that. And airport food is not the best. Beef jerky is not the best. Meaning, it's one of those things that have that. And then just take things with you. And so, I think that's what I would say is be prepared to take things with you, and then also to be able to be disciplined when you're on the road and things like that. And so that's what I would say.
I appreciate you sharing this very emotional tale, and I'm so thankful for your entire family, um, you're changing. And it's not, a lot of people are like, well, how do I tell my person to do this, and how do I tell another person to do
Yeah.
that? And you simply watched what happened with her, and you're like, okay, I mean, it's a joke, right? But I'm going to try it anyway. And now look at the benefit you're having, that your son's having, that other family members are
Yeah.
having, and the willingness to talk about it and share. I like that you share it with the people around you, even at work, because
Yeah.
it isn't a conversation that should be buried. It's a conversation that should be told, and that, and a
Yeah.
story that should be told. So I'm glad you're out there sharing that, and maybe that hits somebody. I don't know how many people you've affected within
Yeah.
work by talking about it. I mean, this is how things change, is just by
Yeah.
sharing those stories.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done to help my wife. She speaks very highly of you, and I appreciate that. So thank you for that. And then, hey, the last thing I'll say is always and forever, keep fighting like my wife, Christy Kriese. She's the strongest lady, my best friend. And if she can make it through it, anybody else can. And she's always willing and able to help anybody she can. And she's helped us more than we'll ever be able to help her. And so thank you for allowing me to do this, Robin. And I really appreciate you being a great friend to my wife. And Christy Kriese, you're the strongest person I've ever met, my best friend, and I love you to death.
Well, with that, thank you for hearing our keto biography. Bye.
Thank you.